I may do a separate video looking at race and the justice system. But that isn't what this video is about. This video is about the financial cost of our system and if a conservative or libertarian should find the use of the tax dollars just. The first here, the direct and obvious cost, is how much of our taxes, your taxes, go directly to imprisoning friends, neighbors, and fellow citizens. The Federal Bureau of Prisons reported an annual cost of $37,449 per inmate a year. That works out to about $102.60 of your money per day spent locking up fellow Americans. And if you consider that there are 157,526 people in federal prison, that means the federal inmate cost works out to about $6 billion of your money per year. And I know what you're thinking, but Christy, we have to lock bad guys up. Yep, I agree. Let's completely ignore the fact that $3,000 a month is a lot more than many of you spend on food and housing, and go to why they are in prison. Again, according to the Federal Bureau of Prisons, 68,685 of those inmates are in prison for drug offenses. 6,700 are in jail for immigration offenses. I have no issue with people being in prison for rape or murder, but do you think that somebody crossing the border illegally should cost you close to $40K a year? Or would you rather them be out working and paying taxes through ITIN or something similar? Would you rather someone be in jail on your dime for getting caught smoking pot, or out paying taxes and working and putting money into social services and other programs? And I could get the math may not seem that impressive at that level. Even if you release all these potential nonviolent offenders, how much money could that really be? Let's see. 68,685 plus 6,700 times $37,449 per year is not even close to $3 billion. It's only a little over 2.8 billion. But wait, are there really only 157,526 people in jail in America? That doesn't sound right. It isn't. When you include state incarceration rates, that number leaps up to around 1.5 million Americans in prison. The Bureau of Justice has breakdowns for various crimes and states. The data can get a little confusing here, but it looks like a little less than 60% of all prisoners are in jail for violent crime, according to their statistics anyways. Nonviolent crimes include everything from violating parole, white-collar crimes, possession of marijuana, etc. I'm not saying everyone who is in jail for nonviolent crimes should be released, but 30% of all state admissions were from post-custody violations. In some states, half of admissions were strictly for violating parole. Again, this is your money. You can run some of the numbers yourself, but the numbers are getting pretty big here. Let's go with the lower numbers. 30% of Americans that you are paying to lock up were admitted because they were seeing a friend that they weren't allowed to see, or smoked up one weekend and failed a urine test, or something similar like that. 30% of 1.5 million is 450,000. 450,000 times 37,449 is $16.8 billion. And I get that these numbers aren't absolute, and states vary in their inmate cost. Some of the parole violations may warrant arrest and imprisonment, but it is still a staggering amount of money. Assuming you're a conservative or a libertarian, you're probably aware of the Small Business Administration and everything that they do. They define themselves as being about capital, contracts, and counseling. They work with over 1 million entrepreneurs and small business owners a year. They provide guaranteed loans to grow the economy and strengthen the middle class. What could they do with 19 times their budget? Doesn't that seem like a better use of our money, growing the economy? And maybe you're thinking that your business couldn't use help with accounting or budgeting or extra capital or free education on business, on opportunities, or advocacy. That's fair. Maybe you prefer your money going to something else that could triple the budget for our National Science Foundation or the Environmental Protection Agency. It could even double the budget of the Department of Commerce. It could take NASA's budget from around 24 billion to over 40 billion. And maybe you're thinking, this liberal doesn't understand me at all. I'm for small government. Great. Then we can at least agree that we shouldn't be spending billions a year on locking up our brothers and sisters for exercising their right to speak to whom they please and to use substances that don't directly harm anybody other than themselves. But I also think, as a conservative or libertarian, you want everyone to participate in the system. You want human capital. You want human capital making you money, not costing you money. Every prisoner in the justice system is a waste of human capital. They aren't starting businesses. They aren't working in a factory or in a warehouse. They aren't paying into Social Security. They are draining resources and costing you capital. Now, there are plenty of people that they are making money. Geo Group has a revenue of something like $2.5 billion, and a lot of that comes from locking U.S. citizens up and is paid for by you. Core Civic is close behind with a revenue of nearly $2 billion. Maybe you're fine with that, and even fine with discovering there are such things as private prison lobbyists, spending millions on K Street to make sure that they get contracts and opportunities to lock Americans up. According to Politico, one private prison gave $250,000 to Trump's inauguration committee and then paid $370,000 to throw a party at his Doral golf course resort. General Kelly left his role as White House Chief of Staff to be on the board of Caliburn International, a company that makes up to $750 a day per person they detain of your money. Taking away your freedoms or the freedoms of others on your dime is a big business, but it's a waste of our resources. Elon Musk estimated that the Hyperloop between San Francisco and Los Angeles would cost about $6 billion or $7.5 billion and would allow travel between the two cities in 35 minutes. A similar loop has been proposed between Dallas and Austin with a total travel time of 19 minutes. What do you think that modern infrastructure on that level could do to economic growth? If you do happen to be a bleeding heart, as well as having conservative tendency, the entire foster care budget is about $5 billion. An additional 16 billion would mean less group homes, better food, better medical, covering ongoing expenses. Adoptive children would have lower rates of antisocial behavior and be easier to integrate into society. Better care leads to less crime and less social welfare. In the long term, outside of the foster system, we know of all social welfare costs, how much of 50 or $70 billion a year could be saved if we had more people working and fewer in prison. When you allow the breadwinner to be needlessly locked up, which our policies do, you wind up buying the bread. You can look at BLM and people protesting injustice and see that the injustice does exist. And that's what most progressives see. But the end result of the injustice is single parent homes, the need for government housing, fewer people paying taxes, and more people draining taxes. Your money going to social welfare that would have otherwise been not needed. The government is choosing to take your money and give it to corporations that offer you zero real benefits and drain our resources. How would you rather that money be spent? Medical research, infrastructure projects, social welfare, a modernized voting system? Let us know in the comments below or on our Twitter.